Hi everyone, welcome again to this series. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at how you can change the project process in Azure DevOps. Sometimes there might be a need for this change, maybe based on a change in the requirement of the project. So we'll take a look at how you can actually change from basic to Agile, how you can change from Scrum to Agile, and we will wrap it up with how you can change from Agile to Scrum. However, there are some prerequisites that needs to be in place before you can actually perform all these. One of the prerequisites is for you to be a member of the project collection team or the project administrator, or you are even assigned the permission to be able to perform this activity. Also, you need to create an inherited process to be able to seamlessly change from one process to another. This inherited process will allow you to create or customize your work item process. So let's even take a look at how we can actually perform all this. Now, we are currently logged on to the Azure DevOps organization portal. To start with, we need to click on the organization settings to see all the processes and all the projects under each of those processes. Remember, we have just two projects that we've created, one under the basic process and the other one under the Agile process. We'll be using the project under the basic process to perform all these tests. So if I click on the basic process, we can see we have the DevOps project. We'll be using this project for the purpose of this tutorial. So to begin with, we need to create some work items under this particular project. So I will go back to this project, click on DevOps project, which is the project I said we will be using today. Then we'll go to work items. The main work item here is actually the issue, because that's the one that is actually different, is the product backlog work item. And this is the work item that we'll be moving. So click on this, and I click on issue. I'm just going to create one issue. Let's say issue one, test. So I close this. I think we're fine. This will show under the board. It's taking a while. Yes. So let's even create one task or add one task to this. So I can say one. Yes, that's fine. So we can go ahead. So the first thing is to move this project, from the basic to the agile. Now let's even go back to the organization setting and click on what are the work items under the basics, what are the work items under the agile, if we are going to encounter any error while moving. So if I click on the process, then I click on the agile. So you can see the work items under the agile. We have the bug, the epic, the feature, the issue, the task, test case, the user story. Now let's go back to the basic. Yes, we have the epic, the issue, and the task. If you notice something under the agile, we have almost the same work items under the agile. This issue is actually different from the one under the agile. However, when we are moving it, it's not going to flag any error because we have a work item that has the same name under the agile, but this issue is actually the same thing as the user story under the agile. After we have moved this particular project, we need to merge this particular work item with the user story. Now, so let's start by, moving this particular item. So as best practices, I would say always create an inherited process. So this will allow you to create additional work item. So for this purpose, since we have, the name of one of these work items that correlates with the one under the agile, we might not need to create any inherited process, but I will advise we create one as best practices. So if you notice, we created this one the last time. So for the purpose of the people that have not been able to watch my last video, I'm going to recreate, you know, an inherited process. So I'm going to create this and say create an inherited process. I can say Agile V1. Yeah. So we have V2 already. So I'm going to be using this Agile V1, which will have the same work items as the Agile. So if you notice something, the default work items has a padlock sign in front of them, meaning you cannot edit them. So that's why we create an inherited work item so that we can. So that's why we create an inherited process so that we can edit the work items under those processes. So I'm going to be using the Agile V1. So I'll go back to the project and click on change project. So this is I'm going to pick V1. Like I said, I'm not going to get any error because we have the same work item names under the Agile. So, but this is telling me that some things you need to do. You need to update, the Kanban board. You need to update the existing work item. You need to update some existing work item, state also. So let's close this and see what we need to do. So we need to go back to the project. So right now, this project is actually using the Agile process. So I'll start with the board, click on the board. So you get an error here because we need to fill some of the state of the work items. So I click on the settings icon, then I go to the column. So now I need to merge the user story, with the state. So here for the to do, click on new, go to doing. Under doing, I can set that to active, then done, I can set that to closed. So you can also decide to change, the names of your state, maybe to point to what you have, under the Agile, maybe the active, the resolved, the close. So, but I'm just going to leave it this way. Go on to save. You will see that this has been resolved. However, I should be seeing my user story showing here, which is on the board. But because I do not currently have any user story, nothing is showing here. So I'll go back to the board. So the work item, and on the work item, you can see I have one issue, which, like I said, it doesn't relate with the issue under the Agile. This actually relates to the user story. So for me to be able to do this, I need to at least change the work process. So to change the work process, click on queries, then click on change process, change type, change to user story. However, I do not just want to, let's even say you have more issues or more work items that you need to do at once. So what you need to do is you need to select the work item type that are the same and highlight them. So, but since we have only work item, which is the issue, and we can see there is actually, an issue also here. There's a problem here, which we can see the field contains, the value to do, which is not supported under the supported values. So to do this, to fix this, the first thing you need to do is to click on the column. I do not need all these assigned to for now. So the ones I need are, the work item and the state. So I'm going to do the sorting by the work item and state. Let's say state. So majorly, since I have just two work items here, I can take out the work item, just do the state, so I have to highlight them again. Then I need to change, I need to change the state by clicking on edit. So to do, I'm going to set that to new, or you can even set that to active, whatever you want to set that to. So I'm setting that to new. Yep. So still getting an error. Yes. So this cannot be, so these have to be set Because if you remember when we were actually changing, or let's say we were updating the state on the board, we couldn't select the new, we selected the active. So for user story, you need to select, so I'm just going to select the state again. I will resolve it. Yes. So after I've been able to do that, the next thing for me is to change the type to user story. I click on OK and I save. So these are successfully saved. So if I go back to the board now, saving please. No, no, no. I do not want to save the query. If I go back to the board now you can see, I have a work item which is currently active, which I can also move to new, to doing or done. So let's even move it back to new. So that's how we move from the basic, to the agile. Now this same project, let's move from the agile, to Scrum. So to do that again, I'm going to go back to, so for that purpose, let me just create one more user story so that we can see how to move, multiple work items. Say user story. Yes, user story 2. I save that. Yeah, that's fine. So we have at least 3 work items down. We have 2 user stories, So the same way you move these 2 work items and the same way you move multiple work items. So let's head back to. Now, I'll try to move now without creating an inherited process, and you'll see I'm going to get an error. So move to the project and move back to process. Then from this process, I click on this project, try to change to Scrum. So you will see I'm not able to move because the project contains, a work item which is named the user story, which is not the same under my target project. So I need to create this user story under the Scrum to be able to move this project. So that's why, so if I keep clicking retry, this is not going to work. So I need to go back to to my process. So I click on all processes here. Then I go under the Scrum, create an inherited process, and say Scrum V1. Yep. So under Scrum V1, can click that. And what I need to add is the user story. So you do not need to edit the field under this particular work item, since we are still going to be moving the work item out of this particular work item that we've created. So you do not need to add or customize, this work item you've created. So I'll go back to the process. I click on the project now and click on change to Scrum 1. And this is going to move now because all the work items under the Agile now exist under the Scrum. So we've been able to move this, as you can see, but we still need to at least update, the column just the same way we did it under, the basic when we're moving from basic to Agile. So you can see we have the project under the Scrum now. So if I go back to DevOps NG, under my project now, the work items you're going to be seeing, if I try to create a new work item, are actually going to be related to, the Scrum. But you'll notice that I have the product backlog, which is, the product backlog work item for Scrum, and the user story. This is the user story we created, you know. So we don't need this user story because user story is not a work item under Scrum. So we're going to be moving all the items under this particular work item to product backlog item. So go to the board. the first thing is to update the state, you know. So the same thing, correct this, I click on column. So I need to select, the product work item. Yes, that's new. So that's approved. That's done. So you can decide to add more, add more columns because um the Scrum should have more column, You can put maybe on hold, paused, committed, but I'm just going to leave it as default. So here again, I need to go back to my work items. So now we have, the user story, which we need to move to the product backlog item. So to do this, I'm going to run a query. I'm opening this in a query. So just the same way we did this. So this has the new state. So we might not need to update the state, So the only thing we need to update are just the work items. So I'm just going to select these. So like I've said, so this task, we need to update the state. So let's check what states. So we edit. So say state, what state is available for, tasks. So we can say to do. Then we've solved that. Then let's edit our user story and move them to, product backlog items. So I'm going to change the state now to the product backlog item, yes. I've moved that. I can save the item. So work item successfully updated. So if I go back to the board, I'm going to be seeing, those work items because they've been moved, to the board, to the product backlog item. So the next thing for you to do, you can go back to the DevOps NG, the organization settings, the process itself. Then you can decide to delete this particular. So I can delete this work item now because I don't need it again. It was only for the purpose of moving. So now I can now decide to move from Scrum version 1, to Scrum itself to move the project. So because I've been able to, so I can change to Scrum process and click OK. That's fine. Then with that, I can go ahead to delete, the Scrum V1 because I don't need it again. It was just for the purpose of, moving this particular project. That was why I created it. So I can delete the project. So this is how, we move items, from one process to other. So let's see if I think I said we're going to be looking at how you can move from, the Scrum, to the Agile also. So just the same way we did. So let's say I'm going to select this. Now the same thing is happening. This Agile process, doesn't have the product backlog item. So we need to create the product backlog item under the Agile. The process itself. And we click on the Agile view one. I click on new work item, create this. Yes, like I said, you do not need to edit anything. Then with that, I'll be able to move, from that process to the Agile view one. So you can go ahead to update the board, update the work items, and that should be it. All right. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next video. Bye.